I have directed many times that no teacher in this republic should send a child back home from a day school for any charge which is illegal. This is because the government of His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta has already sent money for running those schools at this particular time. If you must provide lunch for your children and some can't afford, and you are not very nice, then don't give them any food. But you have no right to send them home. I've had reports, and I think we are going to take very firm action against some head teachers and principals who are still doing that against our national values. I have no teeth to laugh with anybody. Do you understand? Yes. Because the schools don't belong to the teachers. They don't belong to me. They belong to Kenya. And we are doing what the president has directed. It is actually criminal to send a child home. Who has been with me to Kiandutu now? You want to send a child back to those homes to go and get money for lunch. So if we have norms, we shall actually act. So unless the community has decided that you don't point a finger, in that case you don't waste my time. Because if they bring it to my table, even by tomorrow, even today, I shall act. Why I'm going out now is basically to identify, because we have a deficit in truth. I want to be sure that the Elimu scholarships went to the right people. Secondly, I would want to thank Equity Bank for having worked with us together in this Elimu scholarship mop-up. All the children I've seen, I was in Nakuru and I'm now here in Kiandutu. Over 10 of them have gone to each of their houses, and they deserve the scholarships that they have gotten. If this has been done across for another 4,000 of them, I want to thank them. I want to thank my friend Mwangi for being very thorough, for working with the provincial administration, the county commissioner here, together with the chiefs that have been within the field. We are indeed very grateful. We are approaching the 100%. The mopping continues. The last act of the outgoing president is to ensure that 4,000 extra class children are gotten from the slums, and another 5,000 from across the country, making another 9,000 this year. And for the 3 years that we have been here, we shall have accounted for 27,000 poor children. Now, even if you have no brain, that is so transformative. It is history that you cannot change. And I would want to encourage those who are going to take over from us that this program should not be thrown out in the window just because it was started by this regime. It is for our children. The children don't belong to any political parties. In fact, most of them don't even vote. So I am hoping that next year this will be escalated by another 9,000 so that we have a strong force after about 10 years. We'll have good stories where people say, my parents were in Kiandutu, but now I live in Lavington. My parents were in Kiandutu, but now I work in London, and so on and so forth. Forget about all the noise the politicians are making. The only game changer in life is ensuring that the poor children go to school. Having said so, I want to say that as far as the CBC classrooms are concerned, we are at the very tail end. We intend to roll to the second lot by the end of this month, and therefore I'm going to ask all the contractors who have completed their work to ensure that their papers are in Jogo House so that we can pay them, because the money is there and payment shall be by M-Pesa, which can be traceable. I want to commend all my field officers for doing an excellent job. We have 5% more to do, and I think that can be done within 1 week, where most of the houses are just being roofed. And so I think it is something that we can say is concluded. Because another deliverable for this government is to ensure that we build 10,000 classrooms. And I think it has been done. We are going to be able to do it well before they're handing over to the next government. There is a lot of anxiety, but really for nothing, because we have people who are working right now The exam is being regimented and will be printed. We are working on precisely how we are going to allow our children to move from primary school to junior secondary. We are also working on some of those popular boarding schools that will have day wings, as per what we have said before, where if you want your child to go to Kenya High School, and we have given them the academic facilities, but there is no boarding, and the child has performed well, the child can go there as a day scholar as long as it's living from around there. So Kenyans like creating so many problems, but for those mothers who give birth to these children, and for the fathers who make them give birth to them, can we now start being realistic that I think CBC is here to stay, and rather than just shooting it with all sorts of weapons and guns, can we work together to ensure that it works? It is going to work because we have decided it is going to work. For next year, I cannot speak for who will be in government, but I'm hoping that whoever is in charge of education shall build another 10,000 classrooms. Finally, on the issue of primary schools in the private sector, there are very many private schools which have already constructed an extra classroom for CBC, and I'm going to direct Director of Quality Assurance, Dr. Mary Geturu, to go full blast, supported by the PS, Dr. Julius Juan, that this school should be inspected within the next 6 weeks, so that the public is aware that the following private primary schools are going to be used as junior secondary schools. The private schools have capacity to train their own teachers. There are very many teachers who are unemployed, and they'll just tweak them to be able to teach in this so-called private primary schools. For the private secondary schools that have complied and they want to have a junior secondary school, I'm waiting for the list, which should be from the beginning of June, and I will personally inspect them and ensure that they conform to what we have told them to do. Otherwise, work is not completed at once. His Excellency President Kenyatta will finish his, whoever is going to start must continue from there, unless he is so stupid that he wants to wipe away everything that the president has done, and then he starts his own. But that can't happen, because Wananchi will not do what? The Wananchi will not allow whoever it is. Are we together?
Yes.
So can we feel empowered that CBC is going to succeed?
Yes.
And I have no doubt in my mind. We have now trained the teachers, we are continuing to train them, and as you are aware, before we make too much noise about not enough money going to education, let me remind you that we are giving 29.5% of the budget to the Ministry of Education. And therefore, it is only a fool who will start thinking that the government should add more money to education. What we must make sure is that that money, the 25.9%, is used for the purposes that it is meant. And you have seen that even the classroom we opened here was constructed at only 788,000.
Yes.
You can't say that you didn't make profit. Profit for who? The classroom is for your children. Are we together? CBC, the phase 1, we are at 95%. Now, you went to school. 95% of 6,497, and those that have not been done are either at roofing or finishing level. So this is delivered. It is delivered. But if you are doing an exam and you do 95%, is that a pass or fail?
Pass.
But since we want to ensure that every class is completed, for example, in this area, which area is this? Thika West is complete.
Yes.
It's 100%. There are many regions that have completed. Northern region has completed. Nyanza region is about to complete. Eastern region is about to complete. And I now can boldly say that this is a fait accompli, and we are just about to start the second round. Now that second round will be 3,500 classrooms. So, and it will be in fewer institutions. So I don't see any problem there. But having said so, His Excellency the President again had provided earlier 8.2 billion Kenya shilling for the SEKIP program to build classrooms and labs in high schools and toilet facilities and water points in primary schools. That project was delayed by 1.5 years because of our usual untruthfulness. And it took the wisdom of His Excellency the President to identify that what they had done, if you had 9 extra classrooms, then they give you another 9 to be constructed, so that no classroom will be constructed. When the President found that, then he directed that all classrooms should be put on GIS, all of them, both public, private, TVET and universities. So we are then able to check physically, and in that process we have saved close to 3 billion shillings. So that TVET process started only a few days ago. It's also going to build many classrooms and labs. And this, because they are doing it now, will all go to the CBC preparedness. Are we together? And then don't forget that there will be new government next year, and I'm sure whoever is the president, it doesn't matter who, must, and I'm saying must, provide for our children.